Welcome back to Superliminal Podcast, and as always, thank you for tuning in and joining me. Well, today's guest, wow, what can I say about Rebecca Barron? It's not very often that somebody comes along who shares their story with me and pushes me right to the very outer edges of what I think is possible, my worldview. And I've done so much research into how this world really works, who it's run by, the control mechanisms, the Satanism and everything else that is in power in this world, at least for now. But listening to Becky's story moved my heart so deeply. And I came across her through one of my mentors, George Kavasilas, who is doing some absolutely incredible work. And he's often labeled as a dark magician, as a fraud, as working for the military industrial complex, as working for the parasite class elite, whatever you want to call them. And Becky had actually done a remote viewing on him, and I was privileged enough to see a small excerpt of the video that she'd done, where she tuned in and very clearly saw that actually, George is the real deal. He's coming from the heart, and he's absolutely connected to his heart soul essence that is way beyond the confines of this universe. But it was when I was watching that video, I just felt the beauty of Becky's energy so vibrantly, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have got to get that beautiful being onto Superliminal Podcast. And I'm so glad I did, because I read, she blessed me with a copy of her autobiography before we did the recording, and I read that, and there were moments where I literally had to stop and I couldn't read on because of what that incredible being has been through and what she's experienced to fulfill her mission and to bring the light back into the world, as so many of us are doing in our own ways. But I mean, wow. There's one bit in the story where it's revealed, in the interview, where it's revealed that the person who's at the top of this control structure, at least in the visible, in the scene, is someone who you wouldn't believe. And yes, it's a bit of a cliffhanger. No, it's not a clickbaity style thing, but I want you to, I'm not going to reveal it because I want you to watch, feel and absorb the whole conversation, because we have got to know this wisdom that she shares, and she reveals who's at the head of this control mechanism in the visible, in the world of the seen, towards the end of our conversation, and it will knock you for six. But anyway, before we get on with the show, as it were, I'm going to read you the synopsis from the back of her book, just to give you an idea of what Becky's doing in the world and the magic of her essence. And the book's called One Set of Footprints, and it's a really beautiful title that came about from a conversation that she had with her wonderful mum. And the synopsis is that part of her childhood was unfortunately being abused by the Satanic energies, and understanding what was needed in order to heal. And the only way that we heal is to walk into the nest of experiences and break it apart. The battles within the royal family, the British royal family, well, global royal families to be honest with you, but this is specifically the British royal family, and other Satanists was a massive part of her healing. Seeing their weaknesses and how effed up they are, so she could stop hating herself and abusing herself, to stop being scared of who she was and embracing the who she is. To see that even though they did the most horrendous things to her, which they did, they are weak beings, and she beat the effing lot of them and healed herself. And when you read the autobiography, which I cannot recommend enough, and if you go to her website, you can order the book from there, which I'll link to in the show notes. I cannot encourage you more to read the book, because it will shock you, but it will also open your heart as well. And the last part of the synopsis is, our hearts always win when we believe and trust in ourselves. The heart is our creative force that will shine the light and help us to pave the path that we need to walk. Not even monsters can stop us. So I will leave it there for now. I would love to know your thoughts on this because, again, this is a real boundary pusher, this conversation. But Becky's got the most sweet and beautiful energy. She's such a powerhouse, yet has this beautiful, soft, feminine energy, and the two sit together like yin and yang so gorgeously, which you'll feel in our conversation. Bit of housekeeping as always. Please do subscribe, like, comment and share using the share function in YouTube, because as ever it helps this get out to as many people as possible, because I tell you, the world is ready for this fucking information, and I am asking you as a favor to me to help Superliminal Podcast grow, to get these. I don't make any money from this. I'm doing it just for the love of getting this wisdom out into the world, getting beautiful people like Becky onto the show, because how we think the world works is a fucking nonsense. So please do everything that you can to share, subscribe, and promote the podcast to people who you know will get benefit from this. So that's my little sales pitch. Thank you ever so much, and I will see you in a second. Welcome to Superliminal Podcast. Thank you again for tuning in. And I am so excited about today's conversation. As you'll probably be able to tell from my intro video, I know I say this about every guest, but it's particularly true in this instance because I've got Rebecca Barron sharing her absolutely incredible story. I've been blessed enough to have had the chance to read her autobiography just before this. And we were just talking off camera before, and I've literally got pages and pages and pages of questions. But I invited Rebecca onto the show because I came across her through the wonderful George Gavasilas, who I've been doing some work with recently. And we were saying just before that these people come into your life organically like this, when you sort of connected to the heart, and the information and the wisdom that you need just automatically comes to you. And I was so taken with her story and with her energy and everything that she's got to share. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. We're going to talk about Rebecca's story, what she does, and then hopefully I'll get through the 384,000 questions that I've got at the end. So Rebecca, thank you for joining us and welcome to Superliminal.
Bless you. Thank you, Franco. Thank you for having me on. It's really very kind of you to...
Yeah, it's such a joy to have you. I really have been so excited about this. So I know we're going to talk through your autobiography, but if you could just give us like an overhead view of who you are, what you're doing, and...
Okay. Yeah, of course. I have... I help people. I help people become more aware of themselves. I have abilities like remote viewing, but I'm able to see people and their consciousness, see how their brain works, able to target traumas and perceptions and beliefs that are holding them back. And I have my little thing is called Find the Light, and I see many people every week. And so I do remote viewing of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the collective consciousness, anything. People ask me anything they want, and I'm kind of like a sniffer dog. But also I've kind of over the years got the art of understanding myself, which has helped me understand consciousness and how consciousness works within us.
Yeah, wonderful. And I love that you've said that over the years you've had the opportunity to learn about yourself. Having read your book, I mean, geez, what an opportunity that's been. I mean, wow. I mean, most people would actually say, no, that can't be true. And I'm sure you get that all the time. But knowing what I do, about beginning to know what I do and beginning to uncover the layers of how this world really works, how it's constructed and how it's created. I mean, I've always been healthily skeptical right from the very, very earliest age. And I realize now that was part of my soul makeup. And as time has gone on and I've broken away from not all of it, because, you know, it's something that we're always peeling back the layers on, but I've broken away from the sort of mainstay of the programming that we have, that governments care about us, media tells the truth, They work in our best interests, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
As time has gone on, as I was reading your autobiography, it even pushed me to the limits of can that be real? And I'm like, well, of course it is, because the layers just keep peeling back and peeling back and peeling back. So maybe you can share with us the start of your story from the very beginning, and how that's led you to where you are now.
Wow. Wow. Well, I had a normal childhood. It was very normal. And all the beginning of my 20s, very, very normal. I wasn't awake. I had so it's very normal. It was, work and getting better at my job. It was, going out at the weekends. Just normal stuff. And then I got married, and then we went traveling. And with traveling, I had to stop work and I had to relax. And that was a big factor in it, because I had to relax I was working 2 jobs before I left. I was always busy and doing something. And then as I started to relax, I started to get, first, uncomfortable. I had a huge insecurity within myself, massive insecurity, that I wasn't bright, I was stupid. And I had this from growing up. I struggled with reading and writing when I was a kid, and it kind of haunted me, even though I did very well in my jobs, and I had the ability to learn, but there was this thing that kind of haunted me. And then while I was away, we were on this beautiful island in Malaysia, and I started battling with this belief I had. And within a few days, I broke it. So I started to learn about beliefs that I was holding to myself, that I identified with, but caused me so much unhappiness. And within those few days, it was like I was arguing with myself. And then as soon as that argument stopped, and my heart won, my heart just flowed. And I started getting loads of information. And I realized that my heart was something that I hadn't really listened to before. And it was telling me loads of stuff, so much. And it was like a really intense, what you would call becoming, like I was actually consciousness, and that I live forever. And this reality that we live in is like generated like not a computer, but a consciousness reality where we can experience ourselves through. So within that, it was really intense for about 6 weeks. And I started to learn about the dark side of reality, about ETs and aliens, and how they're trying to dumb us down and disconnect ourselves from ourselves.
And that was just purely flowing through your open heart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'd be getting images. So it was really intense for about 6 weeks. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. So on the outside, it's probably like I'm going crazy. I remember calling my mum and dad, like, there's ETs, there's people here that have no creativity. And they were literally, bless them. So I started, and then thankfully my husband at the time, he said, have you heard of David Icke? And I knew of David Icke because I saw that my husband at that time, he had a book in the past of David Icke. So he directly said, you've got to listen to him, because what I was saying about these ETs, he said, David Icke talks about them. So I went and listened to David Icke. I found Dolores Cannon at that time. I just went on this whole because what my heart was saying to what my head had lived through all my life were completely different. It was like I was stepping into something completely new. And after 6 weeks, basically my whole life fell apart, which you've read the books, my whole life fell apart, and I was supposed to teach in Asia, which I did for a little bit, but I came back to the UK and I started learning. I went on a Dolores Cannon course, hypnosis, and I started practicing that. And I also reflexology, which I'd learned in the past. And mainly through reflexology, I started to pick up psychic stuff from people. So they'd bless them, come in for a foot massage, and I'd pick up psychic information, which I'd relay after.
How did that feel for you when that started happening? Because obviously you weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I wasn't expecting it. It's kind of nerve-wracking at first because you're like, what does this mean? And then I would kind of say, and then they would then give me the whole picture of what I was seeing. So they were like, wow. So it just opened up where they had, because the whole stuff they probably never even spoke to anybody about. So it was like an opportunity for them to open up and share something. And it was, they called it the crying room because everyone left crying.
In a good way. In a good way.
Back. So it was a really lovely time because it was like, oh wow, I'm on the right path, and it felt so good to be able to help. So with my heart opening also came these gifts that I could see beyond, feel beyond. So I started to be able to feel people, and then the attack started. That's when it got really messy. So I started getting attacked by a black magician. I had like jinn in my house, and it was attack. And then I started learning because there was no one really. It was just a huge, intense learning experience of why the attacks, where they were coming from, who, why, and it was like all these questions, like what the hell is going on? Because it wasn't just me; it was my babies. My babies were being attacked. My whole family were being attacked. So it's like
for anyone who doesn't know what jinn is or are, could you?
I didn't know what jinn was until we moved. We went from a little cottage from down south into a big place in Derbyshire. It was like Amityville Horror. In the fact, I actually called the chapter Amityville Horror because it was like, this house is too big, like for us, and why is it so cheap? But it was, and we were like, great. And within a couple of weeks, there were like these, I would describe like smoky beings. So it was like you'd be sitting in the room and you'd see these black figures in the corners of the room.
You could physically see them with your eyes?
Physically see them. This wasn't psychically. This wasn't.
Wow.
And then they seemed to be in my son's bedroom more. So I ended up sleeping in my son's bedroom, and they would dive down at night, like trying to get into your body. It was hellish, and it was like, who do you call? Do you know what I mean? Like, where do you go when this is happening? Like, it was really scary, and obviously the whole house had been affected by it, and then where I went for help, they found out that actually that person was a black magician, and they're the ones that sent it in the beginning. So they created a problem and like pulled me in. And then, and then it all came tumbling out that I was dealing not with a healer, but with a black magician. Yeah. So it was, but I literally lost, I couldn't work. My mental health went downhill. I couldn't, I was a mess. Anxiety.
It must have been so frightening for all of you because you weren't expecting this. You weren't aware of it. You had no conscious aware of it. Clearly, your greater being did, because your greater being signed you up for all this. But at the time, I imagine that must have been terrifying, especially having your young child being attacked like that. I can't begin to imagine what that must have felt like.
Yeah, it was hellish, and I mean, it's obviously the mother bear comes out, and if you've got something physical going on, you can deal with it. You can call the police, but it's all spiritual stuff. So I was never looking for this, but I entered into it really naively, not even knowing really. So it was, and probably if I did know what I was entering into, I wouldn't have moved now. So I was like, no, I'll just stay asleep.
Yeah, can we just tear the contract up, please? I'm up to the Pleiades for a nice fifth dimensional lifestyle. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. But when I kind of was sort of like, when I was a kid, my mum read palms. So I grew up with an amazing mum with a very open mind, and she shut herself down because poltergeist active, not Jim, but stuff was going on in the house, and they attacked one of the kids. So she shut herself down. And I kind of knew from that I couldn't shut myself down because the attacks would carry on anyway. So mum did everything to protect us, but it wasn't enough. Really, the attack still happened, and interference in the house, and that kind of always I remember when I was about 14, like, our family's different. I don't know, there's something wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Do you know what I mean? So I was asking questions quite young, but I never, unfortunately, it was my family, my young family. It's like we had to go through it again and to sort of understand the bigger jigsaw puzzle, which helped me understand my childhood. So it kind of. It was, even though it felt like I was being hunted, basically, from lots of things, because it was after the jinn, then it was the demonic beings, angels and demonic beings, and then more Satanists. So it was like this road of, but also seeing how the Satanic system works.
Yeah. Did you initially, when that was going on, given that consciously you were unaware of who you really are and the reason that you'd come here and the fact that a black magician had done that to you, was there any point where you thought it was maybe just that the house was haunted and if you moved house, everything would be fine?
I can't remember now. It's quite a few years ago. I don't think that we were in a position, we couldn't afford to move house, even if that was that was an option. I don't think it was just like we have to get, I don't know if my husband and I even had a conversation about that. It was like, these have got to get rid of. They've just got to go. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was, it's a good question. I can't remember. Well, when I first spoke to somebody about it, so when I expressed to this lady, she knew what it was. Like because I didn't even know they were called jinn. I just like these smoky black beings. And she was like, they're jinn. These are these beings, and you can get rid of it from A, B, C, and D. So that's the route we went.
So that must have seemed, oh wow, I found the answer to my prayers here. Oh my God. But
it was like she was, an angel.
That wasn't the case, was it?
Yeah, no, it was not the case at all. Looking back, the healing that I was doing, I was waking up. I don't think it was the healing I was doing, but I was getting more in touch with my heart. And because I was getting more in touch with my heart, my frequency levels were going higher. And there were people that didn't want that. They were like, we need to get this girl down. Like, we need to like squash her. So I was targeted. I've been targeted. Yeah. And then this black magician, he was the one actually who told me that I'd been programmed as a child. And I laughed in his face. I was that's how adamant, like there was no memory, nothing.
Yeah, well, of course, because your memories had been wiped through the programming, ironically. And of course, where you were at the time in terms of realizing you were having this beautiful heartfelt awakening, but not realizing the dark side of what was going on. I can completely understand. That must have just seemed absolutely ridiculous at the time. So it's very understandable that you would have just laughed at the time. But nonetheless, turned out he was part of something that was much, much bigger than you could have ever realized.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just a little pawn in the system. He was, it was like, okay, you go off and you go and get her back down in that spider web, so so after him, not long after him, then I carried on. People started to come for help, and then attacks would happen, but different attacks. So, the angels and the demons, and then it went into technology. It was like I went through lots of different levels of these are the different types of attacks you can have. And but I learned through every single one. And I started to learn, actually, they can only attack the frequencies within. So this was a massive game changer for me because I couldn't protect myself from everything, and I couldn't fight everything, and I couldn't. And then I realized, well, actually, they only set off the frequencies I already have, and therefore I have to learn more about myself. So every time I got attacked, whatever it was like, okay, where did they attack in me? What is it about me? And then the memories started to come.
Yeah, and for anyone who's wondering what you might be referring to there, when you're saying that they can only attack the frequencies within, where do those frequencies come from, and how are they able to attack them?
Well, you're a bundle of frequencies. Everybody is created from two different types of energy, masculine and female energy. Masculine consciousness, female consciousness. Your left brain is your female consciousness, your right brain is your masculine consciousness. And your masculine side, your mental side, is incredible. It's like a computer. So it stores everything that's ever happened in your life, and it's all in little boxes, whatever's happened, and it's attached to the female side, the emotional side, and they're radiating all the time. And if they can technology, or if it's in a frequency range, they can set it off with technology. Like target that, right, you've got that frequency there, we'll set that off. Or this is how we manifest our reality. We bring forward the frequencies that we are. And so it's exactly the same. But then obviously there's some people that get targeted, like we want to set off that trauma and that trauma, and that's to keep us down. But then I was like, right, I've got to face this and heal this. I have to heal this.
So those attacks are basically picking up on the frequency of trauma.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the frequency of trauma. Yeah.
Right. So we need to heal that as much as possible, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we need to, because if you how I see it, like our brains have been, the left and the right brain have been so disconnected from trauma and generational and belief structures and perceptions that we have of the masculine or the perceptions we have of the feminine. It gets split. And lots of problems occur from that. Your mental health problems, ADHD, loads of all health issues, physical health issues are down to the point of separation of the left and the right brain, because your left brain is your vitality. It keeps the body alive. So all that vitality from the left brain goes into the right brain, and then it distributes it throughout the body. So if there's a health issue of any kind, there will be a separation within the brain somewhere. So you've got millions of cords between the left and the right brain. And connecting up is also connecting more to yourself, more to your heart, understanding who you actually are, away from the perceptions and the beliefs and the traumas. So the more you heal yourself, the more you come in line with who you naturally are. And through the process of understanding, I had been programmed as a child. There was lots of programming in there that worked against me, like my brain worked against me. So trusting myself and trusting my heart to get me out of situations that I was programmed to stay in was, I couldn't have done it without my heart consciousness.
Yeah, but to get to that realization, I mean, that was just such a huge journey for you, wasn't it? To actually even just be aware that that's what was going on. Because towards the end of the book, you shared the most incredible example of just almost literally when you had no fight left in you at all, and a very surprising, not surprising source of assistance, not rescue, because obviously we're not here to be victimized, but a source of rescue, a source of assistance rather.
Light.
Came along to help, which was incredible. But before we get to that, just sort of going back to when this person told you that you'd been programmed, where did you go from that in terms of beginning to realize that actually there's some truth in what he's saying?
Oh, well, first I laughed in his face, and then I went in a bit of I laughed in his face like, no. And then little things, the man that was in charge was the handler. He was my best friend's dad. And I didn't, but the little things started because I met him just after we went around the house, just after I got married. and just saying hi and bye before we left. Because and he invited my husband to become a Freemason. So there was like little memories like that. That's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. But I didn't know for about a couple of years after. Nothing happened for a good year and a half, 2 years, until my first memory came. I was trying to desperately search, like in my brain, like, there's something there, like what happened? Because you kind of, then your imagination, like what could happen? And I didn't know at the time who, but or why, nothing. But it took a couple of years, and that was after I was with with my new partner, and I suppose the safety and everything, and then the memories came. Yeah, but not all at once. Thank God. It was
Yeah.
it was just life happened and I got triggered, as we do and react. So I started to understand that people, when just observing people, I find people fascinating, but observing people are basically reacting to themselves and their own beliefs and their own perceptions of life. They may not actually be having a conversation with you. They were more within in themselves. And I acknowledged that that a lot of my emotions weren't actually to do with where I was at. They were linked to very past stuff. So I started to, if I had very, very strong emotions that really didn't relate to the now, feel like I'm being a bit of a drama queen, I would then ask myself, when did I first feel these emotions? And then my heart would show me. I would get the emotions, I'd get the visuals, I would get the energy back. So then I started like, wow, oh my God, yeah, incredible what took place. And the memories coming back, it was like my whole body would be, it wasn't just, I'll just remember, you're just remembering something from childhood. It was very different. It was like I had to, like, I was going through the whole thing again. Like the whole body would like release it. So out through my cells, the visuals, the emotions, I could feel everything. My emotions of the trauma that I was going through, other people's energy all around me. And I started to learn that we don't just keep in trauma, we don't just keep hold of our energy. We're actually feeling we can feel everything around us. And
all the people that were around you involved in the trauma, what they were feeling, what they were thinking, how they were interacting with each other. And your poor little childhood body at the age of 5, 6, 7 years old is actually taking all that in and storing it. And you've been carrying that for so long without realizing it. And then later on in life, as an adult, now with your own children, you're then having to go back into through necessity to heal and alchemize. But nonetheless, the challenge of doing that, in terms of the severity, the intensity and severity of what you experienced, I mean, I can't begin to imagine how challenging that must have been to have relived it again.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, even writing the book had been like planning for like a year before to get down and write it, because it was so I thought, I've done everything, I've healed. Actually, when I wrote the book, it felt like the last of the healing, like the energies in that book, because of I remember all my skin breaking out. I remember going through like feeling everyone's against me, because it's like trauma coming up and going back into it and writing about it. I mean, it was very healing, but very challenging to write the book again. It's like going through it again. So the book was kind of like, even though talking about it now, like an ending, because it has been. It feels, for me, it's been like a jigsaw puzzle, because it's like a little piece here, little piece here, little piece here, and it's like I've got all these questions, but you don't find the answers straight away. They come when they're ready. I remember I tried to, because I learned the art of, I can just journey through my timeline and find out. And I tried to do that, and I was so not ready for that information. And I just crashed, and I realized, no, I've just got to wait life to teach me. Like, I've got to wait for when the triggers happen, and then the memory will come when they come. But yeah, it's been it's been really challenging. It's been really
and
challenging.
relentless as well, because I was kind of really, it was, in some respects, it was like, as I was reading the book, it was almost like I was watching like a real life movie at the same time, like a real thriller, because it's kind of like, you're rooting for the heroine of the story, and you think, oh, she's got it, she's there, and all of a sudden, no, something else has happened. And I think I really felt that in particular when there's a part of your journey sort of in and towards the later part, before you finally actually let go of everything, where you become close to someone who lived abroad, who was helping you with a lot of your healing work. But it turns out there was someone that person was connected to, that was there to attack you again, who was actually protecting the wider network of someone in particular,
Yeah.
looking after a very, very broad network of, shall we say, satanic evil that was attacking you. And when you shared that bit, because you could sense that initially, I recall you saying you could sense that this seems a bit odd, but because of the trust that you had with the mutual person, you kind of just went, oh yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But that actually turned out to be an awful thing, but actually a huge blessing in terms of you being able to sort of go even deeper into what you needed to go into.
Yeah. This lady, another healer.
Yeah.
She was a healer.
Yeah, it's funny. Like what one of my, sorry to interrupt you, but like one of my things that made me laugh in there was the comment that you made about the whole spiritual healing world mostly being FUCKED, and that really did make me laugh how you shared it, because I wanted to bring that up in the questions later. But in my relatively narrow experience of that world, I've actually found that to be true myself. So much so that I've pretty much taken myself away from most of the sort of spiritual world as such, because for a lot of people it's just a massive sticking plaster to not face their own shit, basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. You were sharing the bit about this lady who was on the surface was a healer, but actually was something very, very different.
Very, very different. Yeah. So I felt the energy. So I met this lady, and I wanted to impress this lady because she was very close. And then she kept visiting me. And that's the thing with psychic people; they can just come into the field, start talking, and I was just
not physically. Just to be clear for anyone who's listening, it's not a physical visit; it was an energetic visit, wasn't it?
But I met her physically, a few times. So, and I didn't. I was so oblivious. Didn't get anything until the energy. So she started trying to. She was there watching me when I was energetically working on people, and I could, see her energy and feel her around me a lot. And then I was like, something's really not right. I don't know I just felt very frightened and very insecure, like something bad's going to happen. And then that's when I was at my mum's. It's a beautiful part of the journey. And when I reflect on that part, me and my mum was talking about it today, actually, because it was such a magical thing. So I was like, really like, because I was at my mum's, and I love going to my mum's, and I was very sort of frightened and insecure because this lady was kind of watching me and stalking me energetically, and I'm just like, this is not good. And then my mum said, she came into the kitchen, she's like, Becky, I've just seen this vision, and you're going to get all these gifts. She said, I see you open a cupboard and all these gifts coming out, and they're going to flow onto you. And then she said, you're going to go on a journey. And she said, it's one, but only you can do it. It's one set of footprints. She said, and this is why I call the book One Set of Footprints. And then she had this piece of paper, and she wrote enlightenment and Mother Earth and knowledge and, universal knowledge. She said, this is where you're going to. And it all sounded really exciting and kind of took me away from how I was feeling, because I wasn't feeling that great. And then the next day, the energy started, and this lady that was the healer started attacking. And, it was scary because although I dealt with, the black magician before, she was on another level.
Yeah.
And but I also started learning how they attack. They're able to access the traumas in the mental mind. But I remember driving back home with my 2 kids in the car, and they both developed these stomach issues, and I just knew this was all about what was going on. And I was like, how do I protect my babies? And I remember getting home, and it's a really long drive, and putting them into bed. We all huddled into my bed, but I could just feel the energy, like this dark energy, just wanting to hurt. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was scary, and I know you couldn't physically see it, but the energy was dark. It was like hellish, like something really bad's going to happen. So I'm like petrified, but I've got little ones, like trying to be as strong as possible and try not to be as showing any fear. But I was frightened, and then we huddled into my bed, and then there was like a surrender. Like I realized it didn't matter how much fear I was in, I couldn't protect us. If this energy is just going to come, and if whatever she's going to do, she's going to do it. And I kind of surrendered, and in that surrender, my heart opened, and all this light came in, huge amount of light, and I could hear. It makes me want to cry now because it was so support. It was all this light, and I could hear natives singing, or this native. They were singing, and there was drumming. It was like the forest just came in. And where I thought like my baby and my life were in danger, it was just beautiful. Like literally the room, it just lit up like 100 light bulbs came in the room, and it was dark. Do you know what I mean? It was like amazing. And then I fell asleep, and we had the best night. But all that light that came through, but the next day my life just changed because I was able to see the satanic system. I was able to see the belief structures, how religion has been used to control us, to take away, to split our brains, to get us to believe that the feminine is weak, to believe that the feminine is is less than the masculine, but the feminine is who we are. The feminine is the beauty, the creativity, the path to our life. And then I saw that all the attacks that I've been, at this point, I've been living with attacks constantly for years, Franco. Like I couldn't go through a week without being attacked. I mean, I was still helping people, but I could see that I was attached to a satanic energetic system that I'd been attached to when I was a kid. So any time that I made a move that they didn't like, they would like whip me down, and they would use their minions. And then this all led to the Queen. Who was at the head of this was Queen Elizabeth, the royal family. She was at the head of this, and there was like this spider web. So this was like, you've got the physical reality, but this is when you go beyond the physical reality and see beyond it. I saw just this this energetic structure, and it was a satanic energetic structure that people are hooked into through their belief structures. Now you think, well, I'm not satanic. Do you believe in religion? Yeah, I believe in religion. You'll be hooked into that because we wouldn't have, and started to learn that religion is from this satanic structure. All religions come from that because what they're replacing is the heart, and that's what they came to do, to replace the heart. So it was like they gave, and I saw that, the Queen was at the head of it, but so many people were attached to this energy, and then I saw, all of consciousness, beyond this physical reality. We're not separated through distance or time. There's not countries. It's just consciousness. We're all together. We're one big family. And just saw all this technology around the consciousness that were like holographic. There was all these rooms. So any trauma, they would place the consciousness in this room. And so it would heighten the trauma that goes on in individuals. And that we're beings of light. That we're, we may be physical and we have a human body here, But what builds that human body is consciousness, is light. And there was so much abuse going around Mother Earth, us, and then the work began. So they came for me big time, but I had support, huge amount of support. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support from, it was like collective Gaia, Mother Earth. I'm just one person, but that battle went on for months, every day, night. It was, and I learned how the system worked, but I also saw the breaking down of the system. My mother was breaking the system down, breaking the technology down. Obviously, can't take the beliefs away. We have to learn that our beliefs are there separating us from ourselves. But the technology, and you were asked about reincarnation earlier, we're forced into reincarnation. I saw a structure, they were forcing people here. But that all got broken down with it. But it did take months. Months and months.
I love that. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, because like when I first read that, I was just what you were sharing about, because I've heard other people who I respect talk about the satanic element of the royal bloodlines and whatnot, but when you were talking in detail about who's at the head of it, Savile and all the others that were involved with it, it kind of pushed me to the edge of kind of I can't even say the word, but basically because it's not that I didn't believe what you were saying, but it was because kind of like the kind-heartedness in me almost didn't want to believe it, that this world could actually be that influenced and that satanic. But yet on a deeper, more expansive soul level, I tuned into that and felt, yeah, it's absolutely true. And I think that's the thing that so many of us really have to wake up to, is that this is what's been going on. But that because of the incredible work that people like you have done and continue to do, then collectively we can, by connecting with ourselves first and healing our traumas and stuff, actually begin to help Gaia with that shift. Because one thing I wanted to ask you as well, that in that particular instance where you were just about to give up, and when you were lying in bed with your little children, and you've realized, you know what, I'm done, I'm giving up, I'm surrendering, and you thought it was about to be all over, but actually what happened was something way more magical and way more beautiful than that, and you felt this light. What or who was the light that you actually were filled with when that happened?
Well, my light is me, the heart, the power, but we're all connected to that power because we're all connected to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
So the planet that we're on is consciousness, and she works just like us. She has the feminine consciousness and she has the masculine side, and we're all connected to that. And what's been suppressed is obviously the feminine, and we live on a feminine planet. And she like burst through.
Yeah. It was just so magical when you shared that. That actually it was your connection with self, which was also simultaneously connection with Gaia, Mother Earth herself. Because one thing that came from reading what you shared was that I was actually quite surprised in a way when you were sharing that actually Gaia herself has been tolerating this for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, when it all started. But she's now got to the point, and as we were saying before we hit record, it's like, as much as it can feel so difficult and traumatizing, what a moment in time to be incarnated on this planet, because we are blessed with the opportunity to be part of that huge conscious awakening that Gaia is going through. So I wondered if you could just share a little bit more about Gaia's awakening in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What's happened, what woke her up, or what you feel has woke her up in your connection with her, and probably more importantly, what happens next and where we go with her.
Well, I do a lot of remote viewing and these questions. So back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, Gaia cried out for help. Now, obviously she's not a physical body like us, but she's a planet and she's connected. What I discovered is that Gaia is all the planets in this universe is all a projection from her. So if we lose Gaia, we lose this whole universe. And this universe next to us, where the watchers come from, the technology come from, the reptilians come from, have been basically parasiting off us. And back in the 40s, what I've seen is that she called for help from other universes. We live in a multi-universe. And so new consciousness started to come because she'd lost connection with the people and wanted that connection back. She wants the connection back to ourselves. And the only way we can connect back to her is the connection to self. You don't have to, and that's all she wants. She just wants us to be connected to ourselves. That's it. That's all we need to do. We don't have to save her. We don't have to. But all new consciousness started to come in the 50s to help break down the religions, the belief structures, to heal the traumas, the family lines. And this is why people are doing this en masse. And then the process is people connecting back to their hearts. And that's the same with her. So what I saw in that time, when I'm seeing all the technology and everything, is like they're breaking down all the structures, all the technology, the holographic rooms, the reincarnation, that was forced reincarnation process that was going on. And not just, it was having effect just on our planet, but all planets, because they're all part of Gaia. So she was gaining her power back, her self-belief, her self-trust. And then they've only got what they've got to work on, just the mind programming left that they've done to the human race. But also what I see happening is that there's two energy systems, like two circuit boards. So the people on one circuit board are experiencing reality, and you're manifesting reality, but you're connecting to people on your circuit board. And then there's another circuit board with the old reality, and that's where people are playing out their stuff. So you've got the old system, the political system, the religious system, the school, all these systems that are there to sort of suppress us, to stop the evolution, all breaking down because people have decided to evolve, and the thing is, Mother Earth, it's like a mother in a household. The children follow the frequency of the mother. So the mother in a home or on a planet, she sets the tone of that frequency, and the children will follow it. I look at so many people, and we only go to the frequency of our mother, because that is the frequency where we're going to be seen and heard at. So we stay on that frequency. So because Gaia, Mother Earth, is evolving and getting, she's got so strong and belief and trust in everything in herself. It's why everybody is also going up. We can going up in, we're just following the planet that we're on. And then you can also see the darker energies. You get able to see, because they're so separate from you as well. You're able to see the craziness, you start to lose interest in all that. It doesn't affect you. So yeah.
I love what you said there, Rebecca. When you do so much work and learn to connect with self, and therefore connect with Gaia, and add to this morphogenetic field around the planet that's on that frequency, you do you do find yourself, because it certainly happened to me and people I'm close to who are going through a similar experience of awakening, which is, for me, awakening is just simply deprogramming yourself from the nonsense you've been programmed with since you were a childhood. A lot of people think it's a place to go to. Actually, no, it's actually just getting rid of all the nonsense, because all the awakening's right here, because we're infinite, immortal, loving creator beings at heart, having this brief human experience. But I love that you shared that, because especially what's happened in the last 4 years, a thing that was announced 4.5 years ago that people were locked down for, and certain medical procedures that were then performed on people, you look at that and you realize, yeah, I'm not going to be a part of that. And you really begin to realize that what's left of this satanic control mechanism has almost become desperate, because I love what David Icke calls it. He used to say it's the totalitarian tiptoe beforehand, where they'd take 2-3 steps forward in terms of like taking your freedom away and taking your liberty away. And then people would start to push back. So they'd drop back 1 or 2 steps and then go forward 3-4 steps and back, and so on and so on. But it's got to a point now where that has become a sprint, as people like him call it, where they're so desperate to get to their end goal of basically transhumanism, which is connecting human consciousness to AI, so human thinking doesn't actually exist anymore and we're disconnected from our consciousness, that you see all this out in the open. And you're absolutely right. You just don't connect and relate to it anymore, even though it can feel like, gosh, this is kind of like, feels like the end of the world. But actually, for something new to be birthed, what has gone before has to break down and has to be destroyed for the new to come through. Otherwise, we're always going to get like a pastiche or a excuse me, like a facsimile of what's gone before. So I love that you shared that. And when you were mentioning there about Gaia waking up in the 50s, it reminded me, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, Dolores Cannon very famously talked about the 3 waves of volunteers that were coming through that started round about then. In your experience from your remote viewing, and I know you're a qualified QHHT practitioner yourself, was Dolores on the money when she said that, with the new consciousness that was coming through?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I heard it first, and obviously the remote views confirmed that as well. But yeah, it's and then also seeing it in people as well. So, but it's incredible, because it was like we were looking at like understanding our soul and what a soul is, and people coming from different universes, because generally we'll match the universe that we need to learn out, and but we're connected to all the multi-universe, and so there's lots of higher energy that have come in to help at this time, to help the evolution, because it's like the whole of the multi-universe everyone will benefit from it. It will bounce higher. So there's lots of higher frequencies that have come in to help, and very, when I do Q&As, and every Q&A there's always a question, how's Mother Earth, how's Gaia, and the love that the consciousness of this planet, and the love that she has for the animals, the trees, the plants, but humans as well, and all the humans that have come here to help break up. And it's because she, it's like, you imagine a mother and she's not being connected to her children in her home, and it's exactly the same. The planet that we're on with, you want that connection with your children, and we want that connection with our planet. We've lost that. So and the more you connect to yourself, you will gain that connection. It will just naturally happen. You'll gain more connection with, the more you're connected to your heart, the more you'll feel the trees and the ground and the energies around you, the people around you. We think it's outside of here, but actually the connection is within. It's the connection to the left in the brain. It's kind of the illusion. It's on the outside.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's just such a beautiful thing to feel and to be in, and isn't it? Because I myself have really opened up to this in this last year. Really, I mean, the process I think really started about 6 years ago, but especially in this last year, in terms of my connection with Gaia, it's really accelerated. I remember I was, excuse me, I was in a really beautiful meditation just over a year ago, not particularly trying to connect with Gaia, and all of a sudden I just suddenly felt her consciousness, and I was drawn right into the core. Like initially I just was like, is this like something pretending to be Gaia, like a mimic energy? And I sort of felt into my heart, and I was like, no, this is for real. And I had that experience with Gaia basically saying, look, I need your help. I need you to join with all the other people in the world who are doing this, and I need your help. And the message was exactly what you said. I need you to connect with yourself, and I need everybody else to connect with themselves. I can do the rest, but this is the help that I need from you, because if you do that collectively, and again, mentioning the morphogenetic field again, it automatically shifts the frequency and helps her job to become so much easier if she's working with her physical children and her energetic children who are actually with her working in harmony. And in this last year, since I've gone through that, exactly what you said there, I've become more and more aware of, like, beginning to, on a much deeper level, feel the energy of everything. Like this building I'm in at the moment, which is my co-working space, like I often feel the consciousness of this place when I come in the morning. It's a really sort of beautiful, supportive energy. Just for example, or like the trees when I'm out walking. And if you'd said this to me like 7-8 years ago, I was like, mate, what have you been smoking? But it's so true.
Yeah.
And the more we can, the more we can do, the more we can do that, then the more we contribute to the grand awakening that we all came here to be a part of. And I think it's very important just to emphasize the point of not getting too drawn into the apparent craziness. Yes, we need to prepare ourselves and be aware of what's going on, but not get drawn into the fear of it all, because that just sort of takes us back to where we've come from. And as sovereign beings, remembering that, together with our planet, we're unstoppable, literally unstoppable.
Yeah.
Because this energy that's trying to do what it's been doing for thousands of years, that knows its time is up, is parasitic. It has no creativity of its own. It has to parasite off us. And the only way it can do that, as you've mentioned so many times in this conversation, is by allowing it to attach to our trauma. Therefore, we've got to heal. So we're not too far off time, Rebecca. I could turn this into like a 6-hour 4-part documentary, because this conversation with you is so wonderful, and I'm sure everybody listening is thinking, we barely got started. And as I mentioned off camera, I've got pages and pages and pages of questions here that I want to ask you. But unfortunately, we're not going to have time to do that. But before we get into I'd love you to share a bit about your work and what you're doing and how you help. And then at the end, I've got some quick fire closes for you.
Oh.
One question I really did want to ask you, because I've not come across it before, it's just jumped off the page at me. Everybody else that I've ever heard says that the left brain's the analytical and the right brain is the creative. But from what I understand from what you've said, you're actually saying it's the other way around. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Tell me more about that then.
It's just that it's the way I see it.
Right.
So your consciousness, it comes up through the spine, and it's the female consciousness comes through the spine, and it's and all the left side of the brain is feminine consciousness. However, for the feminine consciousness to be activated, to be felt, to be the senses, it has to be read by the right side of the brain, because the right side of the brain is the decoder. So I can't change what I see.
Yeah.
It's the way it is, and it's like the heart's on the left side. It's
Wow.
the left side.
Yeah, I was fascinated, because like I've never ever heard anyone say that, and I'm just like got such a curious energy. I'm just like, yeah, tell me more about that. I want to find out. But I'm going to feel into that and see what I see for myself. So tell us a bit about what you're doing, where people can find you, your services, how you're doing what you do.
Okay, right. I have a Patreon site called Find the Light, and on there I do. I've got healing groups, and they are generally, it's like booked up, but they do come free every month. They were usually like, it might be a free one, and so I see people on there, and then I have, but also on there, what's really popular is question and answer session. So this is when I'm a sniffer dog to find out what's going on in the world, Consciousness is loads of things. You can basically ask anything. And I do that twice a month. And we all get together on Zoom, and all places from different places around the world, and everyone, asks me questions. So we do that twice a month. I then do one-to-one sessions. So basically, I look at people's brains and understand what's going on, and what's stopping them, what's blocking them. I had a lady yesterday. It was amazing. She had brain scans. The brain scan was everything was fine, but it wasn't. Her frontal lobe of the brain was not firing in the right place, and because she didn't have the proof, but she'd lost that she'd lost all her coordination, her compass had gone, but her consciousness was able to tell me what she needed to do. So it's like, and I see this a lot in awakening when the health system fails them and they're kind of at a loss, and they have to seek outside of that. So I do a lot of health, relationships, people just wanting to understand themselves, wanting to, trust themselves, believe in themselves. So I'm a light that just helps them along on that path. So I do that. I've just released my book, which and that's on Patreon. You can download that or buy it. It's self-published. I do put stuff on YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel. I can't put everything on YouTube because they're a bit, you have to be careful with that. Where we can talk about everything on Patreon. I think that's, and obviously I do courses. So I teach people how to connect to themselves and also to remote view themselves. I didn't realize how I got through all the attacks and learned how to heal myself. I then teach people how to do that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Because I'm listening to what you're sharing, thinking, I think, I'm going to sign up for some of that. Most definitely. Because I can really relate to what you were sharing there with the lady with the chronic pain, because I have a thing going on where I spent about 12 years going to hospital trying to find out what was wrong as such. And every time, no, perfectly healthy, perfectly. Well, clearly it's not, because I'm in a lot of pain. So that's really fascinating, because that's the thing, isn't it? Like, a lot of the time we forget that the physical presentation is the last step of actually something that's going on much higher up our energetic bodies, whether it's trauma related from this life, past lives, generational trauma, whatever it might be. So I think it's really wonderful that you help people like that, because I know what it feels like to be able to get to that point and think, oh, I'm stuck, there's nothing else I can do. But actually, nothing could be further from the truth. So I will put the links to your website, the Patreon, and YouTube in the show notes as well. So thank you for sharing that. So before we get onto the quick fire questions, because I know you need to go shortly, is there anything we haven't covered in this wonderful conversation that you'd like to share?
No, you've done, amazing. Amazing questions. Thank you for having me on.
It's such a joy, honestly. Like I said, I feel as though we've just done the intro and we could got another 6 hours to go yet, but maybe another time. Okay, so 3 quick fire questions that I ask every guest. The first one is, what are you most excited about right now?
What am I most excited about? Well, I was excited about this interview, so that was really exciting.
All the right things. You can come back anytime.
I'm excited about that. I'm going to London the weekend, so that's quite nice. I'm having a night out. I'm thinking about my baby's birthdays, what am I going to do for that? And then Christmas. I love Christmas. Oh. I love autumn. I love autumn. So it's like the different foods you can make. Yeah. And
I think I'm still desperately trying to hang on to summer, but I'll give you that.
Oh, I love autumn. I do.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so you're in a time machine. A time machine lands in front of you. The doors open. You get in. Doors close. You can feel that you're traveling through time. I mean, you can do this anyway, obviously. But you're traveling through time in this time machine. The doors open, and there's 12-year-old you. Wonderful little 12-year-old girl stood in front of you. What two pieces of advice would you give that lovely little girl, and why?
Oh, two pieces of advice. You are loved. Have fun.
Oh, yeah, they're pretty good. I
Yeah.
love those. And finally, although we've covered this in a lot of detail in this conversation, specifically right now, what do you feel the biggest thing? What's the biggest thing that's wrong with the world right now in this moment, and what's one thing you would do to solve it?
Oh, the biggest. Concentration on the old reality, and that the biggest issues probably people don't realize how important they are, and their self-worth, and that their path and them living their path is the most important thing of all, and that is their freedom. That when people live their path, they will feel free. Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful and such a wonderful place to end this fabulous conversation. So, thank you so much, Rebecca. This has been such a joy. Thank you, everybody who's still here and listening. As always, if you can subscribe, share using the share function within YouTube, like and comment, really helps the algorithm get the conversation out to other amazing peeps like you who need to hear it. But for now, Rebecca, thank you so much. This has been such an honor and such a joy to have this conversation. I've been, ask anyone who knows me, I've been looking forward to this so much. So it really has been wonderful to have you on Superliminal, and thank you for sharing your amazing wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, Franco.
Okay, thanks. See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.